Hello, class. So, this is a video tutorial of how I want the character setup assignment to work. In the character setup assignment, we are going to be setting up a character, having them work with the animations of the Unreal Mannequin, as well as set up any sense of flow to them. So, what I have is, ooh, come on, I have this link rig. I put this into the web courses files. This link rig has a cape, it has this ponytail, and it has essentially similar proportions to a character in an Unreal. So I think this is a good candidate. However, uh, there's a couple things we need to know. One, you're kind of looking out with this situation because this rig has a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot of props in it. So there's the Link skeleton. This is the Link Breath of the Wild rig. Uh, and there's skeleton no props. Now I did some modifications here to uh 004 to 005, and I want to go over that because the way you set up the character, things can happen, and you need to make sure that the character that you're using can work with Unreal. So if we turn on X-ray, this seems fine. We can ignore the face action happening because we're not doing a face rig. Face rigs are a little beyond the scope of what this class has. But we kind of see how the character is set up. The way the cape is set up is we have a joint chain here, and it connects here, and there's all these joints. That's kind of great. That's kind of how we're going to set up the full aspect of flow. We have this ponytail. This is something that we're going to be adding. And then we have like the limbs. But there's a little something about the limbs here. If you kind of look at it, it has one situation going on here. It's going down, and then it's going down, and then it's going down, and down, 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 down. It's a full chain. Now, when it comes to this chain action happening, normally this would work for what is called a bendy, because if we move that and bend that, and then keep bending it, or in just a fully default way, we can select all of these, and if we bend them, it doesn't really look great. If we put this into Unreal, it won't work. I'll show you an example of what that looks like. No, not there. Ah, here we are. Yeah. If we just put it in directly, it will try to bend everything if we just go straight ahead with using the link rig like this. So we need to make some modifications to make this work. This won't break the rig. I've tested it out, and you can kind of see here too, it ain't great. So I'll get into it when we get into the retargeter and there's just the general retargeting. But what we need to do is we need to have solid bones. So from here to the knee, this needs to be one bone. We can still have these bones to give some sort of twist and do some general stuff that we need to, but what we need to do is we need to set this rig up to make it work uh, for Unreal. So instead of, hey, we going from thigh R to thigh 1 to thigh 2 to thigh 3, and then to calf, to then calf 2 to calf 1 to 3, all the way down, too much. So if you're going to be using this rig, go to thigh R, and then go to calf R, and just drag and drop calf R to thigh R, and nothing really changed. There was no big flummox on the model, but if we hit the thigh, it goes all the way down, and thigh 1, 2, and 3, they kind of just work. Instead of having thigh 1 completely controlling all the leg, right now it just kind of controls some twist and some other stuff on the leg. This is how twist joints and all of that work. So then we have calf. I kind of want to move foot to under calf. So we can have, like, say, calf 3, and you need to do something to make that look all right for some aspect of an animation. We can do that, but we're not doing that with this. That's not in the purview of this assignment, let's just say. So we need to go through on the right leg and kind of do the same on the left leg. And again, this is a little tedious, but this is all just to make sure that this rig is set up for use in Unreal with a lot of Unreal's auto rigging and retargeting software. This is kind of how you have to set up a lot of rigs and the like in general. So again, we have thigh to calf, and calf, it's all one bone to the foot, and then you have these sort of helper joints, these little helper aspects to the whole thing. They can help a lot, but right now they're going to get in the way. And we need to do the same to the upper arm, where it's like, I don't know, can we have some shoulders? This is a very heavy rig. This is very well liked by a lot of the animation community. But right now, we're kind of doing a little fixing to make sure it all works. So right now, I'm going through and making sure that the hand is parented to the forearm, and then we have the forearm 1, 2, and 3, and all of that to make sure that works. There's also the Zelda rig in the file section. It works the same way. There's the Ganon rig in the file section. It works the same way. If you don't want to use these characters, make sure that they are set up in a way that it sort of just works for that. A lot of Mixamo characters will have helper joints, and they're set up in the way that I am, again, setting this up. So, if we go into clavicle, we have upper arm, and upper arm, we have the helper joints there, but upper arm kind of runs through them. So we see you have this one bone that runs all the way through all these helper joints and say, oh, the pose is kind of weird. I can just do this number to twist to kind of help if there was some funky thing about the pose that wasn't great. Maybe I want to do some squash and stretch heaviness. If you want to do that, you totally can. This rig can do it, but we're doing this to make sure that it all works in Unreal, and we can put the Manny animation suite on it. So that's really what we just needed to do. That took me like, what, 5 minutes while talking? It should be good. So I'm going to select all of this. So if I need to select the entirety of a skeleton, I'll select the root, and it needs to have a root. So this is where, if you're going to QA a rig, add a root to it. I'm not really replacing any geometry. I'm not really screwing around with any skin weight painting, so this should be fine. So I'm going to go to select. I'm going to select the root, and then go to select hierarchy, it selects everything, which is exactly what I want. And then I have all these things for the geometry. We should be good. And now I'm going to export selection. We should be good here. I'm going to find, not desktop, documents, rigs, link Breath of the Wild, mesh. Need to make sure that I'm exporting as an FBX, and it would essentially be Link Skeleton, no props, V05. This is essentially what I exported and I created to test out the stuff. Default stuff should be good. No animation, we should be good. Export selection, I'll just do V6 to make it fine. And we should be good to go there. So now that we've set up the rig to work with everything, we need to bring it into Unreal. So we have the mannequins. I don't want to screw around with the mannequin stuff, so I'm going to, come on, make a folder. So I'm going to call this Breath of the Wild. And in this Breath of the Wild thing, I'm going to, let me find where my rig is. Mesh. And I'm going to use 005. It's essentially the same thing that we just did. And I'm just going to drag and drop that in. And we don't need a skeleton because we're creating the skeleton. We're setting up the character. We're making sure that this works with everything. And all of this basic Unreal 4.5 settings, they should be good. So I'm going to hit import all. And okay, and we have the content browser. I'm just gonna, we get some stuff. No smoothing groups, no anchor before the weapons, because this is the one with no props, and it's like, oh, there's some stuff about that. This is not that much, but we're just gonna kill that. So, what's happening here? We see a lot of stuff. We see, let's go into skeletal mesh. There's Link. There he is. He has his materials on, which is really good for us. That's a lot less that we have to do. Boom, here we are. Here's all the materials. All of the all the textures imported in. So we're good there. If the textures didn't import in, you can just import the textures that are in with the character. The mesh textures, you can just drag those in and rebuild them in UE. But right now, we're pretty good with just the characters in here. So, first things first, we want to go into the blueprints, and we have the blueprint here. We want to change Quinn to Link. Cool. Let's do it. Let's compile. And let's hit play. And nothing. We have him A-posing around, asserting dominance. He's Ramrod stiff. That cape is Ramrod stiff. That hair is Ramrod stiff. This doesn't look like it's good. We need to set up this character so that it works with the animations that we got, or at least the Unreal mannequin animations. We also want to set up that cape and that ponytail to have some elements of flow to it. If you're using Zelda, maybe her long hair, I know she has a cape. If you're using Ganondorf, he has a ponytail and he has this loose fitting sort of shawl to him. So that would be something that you could do. So let's start that out. Why don't we start by trying to create something with that cape? So when you make something with Unreal, you automatically create a physics asset when you import a character. Let's open it up. And it's this bundle of pills. All of these are colliders. They're all in there kind of having some physics to them. So this is probably not the best collider setup. What we want to do is we want to set up these uh, the cape, these colliders on the cape to kind of have their own thing. But these are bad colliders for the cape. So why don't we just kind of select all of these, or just right here, and we can, if we open this up, there's this thing, simulate. Oh, okay, ragdoll. It's fine. We're fine. We're good. We're good. You can just unclick simulate, and it has this whole situation going. So the main thing that we want is if we click on one of these bones, there's physics type, default. So we have kinematic and we have simulated and then default. Um, I'm unsure on all of the basic stuff, but kinematic seems to be it's all going to be working with everything down the chain. While simulated, I know is that it's going to be affected by gravity. It's going to be affected by wind. It's going to be affected by physics for physics' sake. So if we select everything in this chain, this automatically generated physics chain, right click, not constraints, physics type, go to kinematic. Let's see what happens if we hit simulate. It doesn't move. They're all going to be moving in relation to each other. They're not going to be simulated. But if we select where is the cape, all of these cape things, and the ponytail over here, and then we, not simulate, we change their, oh, I need to stop simulating. Bam. But we select all of these, and we change their physics type to simulated, and then we simulate them. They're going to be moving. They're going to be doing stuff. And that's what we want. So we have the physics simulated. Hey, it seems to be fine. Are we still in simulate? Yeah, we are. But I don't like this setup. I don't think this setup is particularly good for a lot of reasons. So, one of the things we need to do is first, I'm going to delete all of these cape colliders because I don't think that they're set up very well. Right now, we're looking at just the colliders. Where is it? I want to show all the bones. And this is kind of just how it's all kind of works here. Much like with the rig-a-gun situation. It's like, hey, we want the muzzle flash to appear from the barrel of the gun. It needs to go on a bone. You have all of these physics objects. They're kind of all going on bones. So if we want to have the cape, we only really had like the physics on the end of the cape. That wasn't the best. So, yeah, that's not going to do much. I was wondering if that will deform, but it didn't. It's just an end joint. So we don't really have to worry about that, but cape 1, cape 2, cape 2, cape top center. Does this have a thing to it? You can kind of see, hey, the clavicle has one. It has this lock to it because it's kinematic, it's locked, it's not going to be moving. It needs to be simulated if it's going to move. So I want cape top center to add a body to it. And that's going to have a body. And I want this to be kinematic because I don't want this to move. I want this to be the anchor for. Actually, no, not even this one. Maybe not Cape Center, but uh, Cape C, this part of the center. Maybe this one. This one doesn't move. This one is the anchor, while Cape 1 and Cape 2, they move. Cape L, that moves. Cape L1 or Cape 1L, Cape 2L, that moves. So let's just select all of these. Deselect that one. Let's add bodies. Let's make them physics types. Let's make them simulated. And then let's add a body to Cape C and make this kinematic so that that won't move. And you see that there's all this nightmare overlap. Why don't we take care of that a little bit? Let's just click on them, scale them down to kind of make it so that it's not going to be the worst. I actually wonder Nope, okay. We have to do it manually. Sometimes you could essentially just select two things on the opposite ends and then uh, change them that way. So Cape L, there we are. Now, the bigger and smaller these are, the sort of more freedom they will have. Let's say if we go here, we select Cape L, all of that. I don't think we need to show all the bones right now. No. Yeah, it's gonna keep them on there, whatever. Uh, but if we select everything, all of these capes, whatever, and then we hit simulate, you can kind of see how they will bounce off of all of the existing physics bodies. This might be good for some, this might not be good for others. This is where the art of making sure everything kind of works together comes in. So let's save this and let's go into our character. I don't think we set that up yet. Okay. So what we need to do is twofold. One, we need to go back into our physics asset and we need to select all the stuff that is going to be moving. Our cape, all of that. Where's our ponytail? Where is our ponytail? Uh, bu- 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 Neck, head. I think it's also here. Ponytail. There it is. Um, so there's a couple things that we need to do. They're kind of in order to make this all work. So I had the bones. I'm here in simulated bodies. We need to select everything that's going to be moving. So again, we have kinematic, it's locked, it's not going to be moving, and then we have simulated, it is going to be moving. We need to select them all, and I'm going to right click on them, and we have collision. We need to enable collision all. So if we hit that, bam, and now let's go into our blueprint. If we hit simulate, we're moving, but things are happening. Things are weird. So what we need to do is we need to go and essentially figure out what's happening. Yeah, all of our stuff, if we hit simulate on that, it's all kind of running into everything. So we need to go and kind of shrink some stuff, make sure that all of this kind of works. And you can also see that there's some general things we kind of don't need. We have, let's stop the simulation. We have like two capsules all over. Why does thigh 1 need a capsule? Why does calf 1 okay, that's going to be our calf. Calf 1 is a good one to start on. But if we have thigh and thigh 1, we're kind of good. So there's thigh 1L, thigh 1R. We can kind of get rid of that. Right. And we can just kind of go in and start to really cull a lot of the physics that we need or don't need. Kind of just go in and try to clean this up a little bit. These are a little big. I don't think we need the clavicles to be as big as they are. So let's go in and shrink them. Let's go in and shrink this. Let's go in and shrink that. Let's go in and rotate around here in order to make this just make more sense. And if we kind of look at the ponytail is overlapping with the head. I don't think the head needs to be that big. Maybe the ponytail, we can make it a little smaller, move it around a little bit. Even this, we can make it smaller still. And if we hit simulate again, it's not as causing as much as a panic as it was. But there's something that I feel like we should really look at. Let's unsimulate. You kind of see all those little red somethings? That is essentially the axis at which it's going to be moving around. That's too much. It should not have free reign over its movement. We need to constrain it. And you can kind of see what's happening with the arms. The arms aren't going to double back on themselves. The ponytail isn't going to double back on the head. So we might need to do something with all of these capsules on the cape. How to do that? It's kind of easy actually. So we're going to hit all the cape here. And if we select here, they're the constraints. They're the way that everything is kind of constrained. Is it locked? Is it limited? How free is it? The angular limits. This is what separates good physics simulation from bad physics simulation. So if we select here, and again, we just look at simulate, and it's going all over the place, kinda. If we select all of this, and you can kind of see like the various different types of constraints happening here. Is it going to be a ball and socket? Is it going to be a hinge? Is it going to be all of this? There's all these little things that's happening here. But we're going to go down here, and we could essentially lock some of the motion here and there, or angular limits. We can have them free in the twist motion. Let's kind of go into limited and limited and limited and see what's happening. Immediately going from free to limited, all of these twists, all of these spheres, all of this accents of movement becomes different. So if we lock certain things, now it won't move. But if we limit it, let's see what happens if we do it. You can kind of see the green is the twist. Let's say if we limit the twist to, like, I don't know, 15. It's not going to move all that much. How much is it going to swing? I don't think the top one should be swinging as much as the bottom ones. So let's go into Cape C. Cape C1 versus Cape C2. I don't think it should be all that much for that. So Cape C1, we're going to go into the constraint, and we're going to limit, like, the twist to 15 is fine, but let's limit this to 20. Let's limit the swing to 20. It's going to swing a lot less. Let's go into, say, Cape C2, and say Cape R, and where's Cape L? Yeah, let's kind of limit how much, maybe not as much as we did, but we come down here, we select the constraints. There's the limit. Oh, we're getting multiple values coming in. 15 is pretty good, but what if we'd go for, say, multiple values? We go into 20 again, and we go into, and you can kind of see it's flattening out the swing versus keeping it as a perfect cone. That's the swing limit. It's sort of like a, let's say, an x-axis and a y-axis swing limit. I'm not sure if that's how it truly is, but you can kind of see what's happening here. And I think maybe having the bottom ones being much more swangin' is possibly more in line. And, I think maybe up here with the ponytail, we can probably do some stuff with the constraints. Linear movement. Like, yeah, here we can have it be fully locked, or we can have it move a little depending on how much actual, like, side-to-side movements. This is kind of not just how you would set up, let's say, twist. I want that twist to be like 5. I don't want that to twist all that much. But this is how you would set up a lot of things. You would set up physics sim. You would set up, like, little jiggle physics. Depending on if that's your speed or not, it may be necessary depending on the character. If you have a character who has a lot of musculature to it and a lot of, like, fat on them when they step, you might need to actually set that up. So why don't we simulate everything again? And it's actually looking a little better. Again, you're kind of going in and trying to simulate everything. You're trying to figure out how this all would work. Maybe make this a little more internal, a little less internal. It's all about finding the balance. It's all about really making sure that it looks decent. So simulate. Oh, that was not good. You can kind of see just that switching didn't work. I don't know, maybe I can just be behooved by turning a lot of these down. And let's see. That looks a lot better. A lot of it is just trying to tweak and figure out what's happening. So we have a pretty good cape situation going on. Now let's go and see what's happening if we go and simulate it. Okay, what's happening here? Jesus, what's happening? Well, we have this pill. This pill is a physics object. It's a collider. It's colliding with all the physicality that's happening with this simulation. And is this still simulation? Yeah, just stop. So we need to do something about that. There's an easy way to get it working. So if you, for one, stop simulation and you go into, I think it's the third person. It is somewhere in here. Mesh, maybe. Okay. Collision. We're dealing with collision here. It's under this. So what is the collision presets? What can we do? We can go into custom, and we could ignore certain things. It's like, hey, is it going to collide with the camera? Okay, we're going to ignore that. Or no, we're going to block it. Is it going to collide with a vehicle, or are we going to block it? Is it going to collide with a physics body? We can have it overlap. Now, this can go into some funky stuff. So if there's some funky physics that happen as a result of this, that's probably it. But if we hit simulation, oh, still. And no, it's not in the third person. It is in the capsule component, where if we come over here, collision preset, uh, we go into, like, it'll be pawn or whatever. We go to collision preset custom, physics body, because it's collapsing. It's interacting with the actual collider here. Simulate. There we go. There we have it nailed. Now there's this going on. There's other things that we can do, but for the purposes of the assignment, for the purposes of learning, we have physics happening. Cool. Let's compile. And let's go into... All right, yeah. We got some hair. We got some cloth. Yeah, and you can kind of see it means that we can't really collide with that physics. It's all about trying to figure it out, but you can kind of start to have your cake and eat it a little. So we have cloth, but we're still kind of T-posing around. Setting up the cloth is one thing. We actually need the character to be moving. So the next order of business is to, again, get our character to move, because right now we don't want just this. So if we go into content drawer, we need to find a way to get all of these Unreal animations onto Link. So how are we going to do that? Well, there's a lot of ways to do it, and if we go into skeletal mesh and we right click, okay, come on, right click. All right, and we go to create. There's going to be something here. We have physics asset. We can create a physics asset if we don't have this already. We can start to create anim blueprints if we want to do some more animation, montages, blend spaces, all these really cool things just off of a character. But IK rig is what we want to do. So there's two things. There's IK rig, and if we and an IK retargeter. So essentially, if we open this up, what an IK rig does is it essentially maps the character. It maps what the bones are, where they are, and then where are we at? An IK retargeter we can go in and select the source of Manny to the target of Link. And let's just move Link a little to the side. And we can retarget specific animations. Animation, where is it? A forward walk. We can retarget all of Manny's animations onto Link, but we need an IK rig asset to do that. So let's start to make one. Now, this is where is it? Where this was giving me a lot of guff, because if your limbs aren't set up right, you can create some weird bending things that you really don't want to do. So that's why I was a stickler about that at the beginning of this video. So what we need to do is we need to first create a retarget root, which is not the root, because the root is where the character is. The retarget root is the first bone of the character. The root is the top of the hierarchy. The pelvis or the hips or the center of gravity / cog is the first root of the character. So I'm just going to right click that, select retarget root, or set retarget root. Bam. And then we're going in and creating something like a spine. And we are going to new retarget chain. Spine from start bone spine to end bone spine 3, chain name spine, add chain. And you see it creates a sort of spine joint, which will line up with Manny's spine. And it's already starting to kind of pull stuff in. I have nothing here, but okay, it's kind of saying, oh, you have the I have the pelvis. I have the pelvis. Cool. That's what's happening here. I'm essentially allowing these two rigs, these two skeletons, to communicate. The retargeter is what actually causes them to communicate. The IK rig sets up the actual communication. So you can go head to neck. Nope. Add new chain. That's going to be the head. Boom. For the purposes, I actually don't need much in the way of the head. We're not really doing much for the face rig. I want a clavicle though. So I'm going to create new chain, and not left arm, but left clav, because clavicles are important. They are the eyebrows of the body. But I also want from upper arm, and I could do, all these upper arm 3s to the elbow and the shoulder pad. That's where you get the weird bend that I didn't want. So I don't want the shoulder pad. I want the forearm. I want the hand. There we are. So I want to select the upper arm, the forearm, and the hand. Skipping over the shoulder pad, skipping over the forearm, not touching the shoulder L, all of that. I'm just going to new retarget chain, and that's going to be the left arm. Add chain. Add chain. Ooh, no, did I do it wrong? Oh, I did. I did it wrong. Okay, nope. So, boop, and boop. Yeah, upper arm to forearm to hand. And new retarget chain, left arm. Okay, there we are. Cool. I was making two chains because I was selecting the wrong thing. There is overlap. So, hey, The left clavicle to upper arm to hand. The upper arm is shared. There's overlap here. If you wanted to be a baller, you could do it with all of these fingers. I'm not going to do that. That's too much time. I don't want to do it. But that's how you would retarget hands in this case. So we're going to do it on clavicle to upper arm, new retarget chain, right clav, add chain. Now kind of collapse upper arm and not all the forearm because we want the hand, but we don't want all the fingers. So upper arm to forearm to hand and new retarget chain. Right arm, cool. And we're really creating all of this. And now we can go from thigh to calf to foot and toe. We want the toe here because it works with a lot of IK stuff. New retarget chain, left leg, add, and I'm going to create new IK goal. Unsign goal. So what this does is have an IK. We essentially put IK on the foot. So now if we have rough terrain, we have something that can target the IK. And we'll do that for all of that. New retarget chain, add chain, and goal. So now we pretty much have a full character all put in to our IK rig. Now Unreal knows what's happening with this rig. It now understands that, let's actually look here, that forearm and lower arm are kind of the same thing. Rather than, hey, what's a forearm? I don't know. We're Unreal. We use lower arms here. It's a whole situation that causes all these problems. If you are in Maya, that's why human IK is a thing. This is Unreal's attempt at that in some sort of way. So we have this. I'm going to save it. And if we go here, let's see how this all works. And if we go to our retargeter, you might need to turn it off and back on again if it's not working for you. We have Link following Manny. But that's not great. I mean, serve and all, but there's a lot of things wrong here. There's clipping galore. There's all these situations where he's just kind of putting his hands in his pockets and all that. Is he trying to serve? Is he trying to like not bring attention to himself? What's happening there? There's problems, and what's happening here is if our default pose. It's an A pose, yes, but it's not Manny's A pose. So that's the big issue here. We need to figure out what the pose is happening. Right up here is a button, edit retargeting pose and running retarget. So running retarget is like, hey, we're doing all the retarget. If we edit the retarget, here's where we can do some stuff. So this is where I would return the target offset, and I would start to figure some stuff out. So I can choose my upper arm on the right, and where's my upper arm on the left? Bam. Nope. Okay, I am in source. I'm on Manny. I want to be on link. So let me change my head joints. Yeah, if you look at all of this, this is why I'm not screwing around with face rigs. They're a lot. They're a lot, and a lot of y'all are melting on regular rigs, so we're not doing them. So we find upper arm to upper arm, and we can kind of just try to figure out how it's all working. We can look at Manny, we can look at Link to see how they're set up. Link's kind of high. Yeah. Manny's clavicles are sloping down while Link's are spiking up. So that might be something that we change. Let's just pause. And let's just pause. And nope, not there. Bam. I'm going to change the... That? Okay. So now we can go into our upper arm. And we can change here. We can go. And we can... Maybe that's not the best. And we can just kind of align what we want to do. Twist. Maybe not that kind of twist. But a lot of this is just figuring out how this is working. And aligning all of our stuff. Nope. Okay. The more aligned everything is, the better it's going to be. And I didn't set up anything on the hands, so the hands aren't really going to, not the hands, but the fingers. So the fingers might be a problem out of the realm of this video right now. But why don't we go back and do some retargeting. Where is the offset? Asset settings? Okay, yeah, there's the target mesh offset. Yeah, you can kind of see it's not the best happening right here, but it is working. There is some stuff going on, and the hand situation is a lot better than what it was. Let's run retarget again because we need to get the feet in order. The thigh, the thigh. Remember, this is much more dimensions than we give it credit for. The calf, the calf. And the foot, the foot. And if we go into the asset settings, the details, we do our offset again. We kind of have Link. You can kind of see it over here. Link's very stark A pose versus Manny's very open A pose. Yeah, it's not the best situation going on. There's a lot more stuff going on with Manny versus Link, but they are kind of lined up, or at least a lot better than what they were. So we have our retargeter. So now that we're done with our retargeter, I want to retarget all of Manny's animations, specifically the animation blueprint, because that includes all of this to Link. So I'm going to right click on Manny, go to retarget animations, make sure I'm selecting Manny. This target skeleton is Link. I'm going to select the APB Manny, and I'm going to hit export animations. And I created a little folder for all the animations to go. I'm going to search Manny, and I'm going to replace with Link, and we're going to hit export. Override existing files, include reference assets. Okay, let's just hit export. And we have a bunch of Link animations. Link doing the Manny idol. We have Breath of the Wild animation. Link doing the Manny run. It's not the best. Definitely can use some work, but we have a lot of the stuff going on there. And we also have Link doing the walk forward. And it's all treadmilling. Not sure if, yeah, it's all working there. Yeah, be sure to make sure everything's working in there because this gives me a lot of guff, like with root settings. Be sure to blend with source. There was a couple times where I didn't, and I had to completely introduce the root motion happening in there. So when you're going under the retargeting, make sure that's all working. But now we have all of the Manny animations on Link. Is it the perfect animation setup? Not really. But you know what? It's there. It gets us going. That's a lot of things we could do. So now let's go back to our animation blueprint with Link. We can just play. And we're still here. We still have Link flapping around. But if we go to our anim blueprint, come on. Oh. No, we're simulating. Stop with that. Where is it? We can use our APB link anim class that we made, which is blueprint class there. No, it's it's Breath of the Wild. We're using this in here now. And now we're posed up. Now, if we hit play, come on, we're running. We have a character moving around. Is this the best stuff? No. Would definitely look into see what's going on. But we have a character walking around using the mannequin animations. They have their hair moving around, they have a cape moving. We got stuff working. And that is how you would do the assignment.